Have you ever seen a movie and thought, boy do I want to play a game in this setting? Back in 2009 I did, when the first 3D movie I had ever seen came out, and for some reason my parents bought the game for it. This game is James Cameron's Avatar: The Game, and boy does it suck. Hey, hi, how's it going? Today I want to start something that I wanted to do for a long time, a trip down memory lane, exploring games I used to like when I was younger. We all know good old pal nostalgia and how it can influence your views on specific things. So I wanted to combat this by ruining my childhood looking at games that were made in the past with my mindset today. And boy, what a game to start with. So back in 2009 the world got exposed to the first big 3D movie, James Cameron's Avatar, without these weird blue shaded glasses. If you're younger, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Nonetheless, back then the movie slapped, easily beating every movie as the highest grossing film. It still claims its title to this day, though it lost it back in 2019 to Avengers Endgame, but regained it because of a re-release in China. It broke multiple other box office records, so it isn't far to think that the creator would want to continue the story. It revolves around the human Jake Sully, who replaces his brother in the Avatar program, joining the native Na'vi people using an avatar. Created in an astounding environment, the movie was a technical marvel for the cinema industry. James Cameron decided to state that he would make 4 additional movies in the Avatar universe, with stating he would release the second and third and then see how they would do. Well, it has been 13 years and nothing has come out so far. Having watched the movie again, I still see some charm to it. The fantastical world on the brink of destruction because of us humans with a decent last story. It is definitely not great, and the huge success probably stems from the new 3D technology and its beautiful environment. Nowadays, I would say the story isn't anything to write home about, but the visuals still hold up to this date. So, having this pretty good movie, it seems obvious to expand to a different medium other than film. And that's what they did in the same year. I first want to start by recapping the general story, and then start talking about the things I liked and didn't like. Or hated. But if you already know about the story and don't care, jump to this timecode. This part is quite long. The story of the game takes place before the movie. It tells the story of a recruit soldier called Ryder who's supposed to help out with the Avatar program and dealing with the native Na'vi people. They land on the moon Pandora where Sigourney Weaver aka Dr. Grace Augustine briefly talks to them and then never returns in the game again except for one small dialogue at the end. Ryder meets Kendra, who's an important character of the story, constantly helping you throughout. They also meet the Navy officer and head of the security commander Falco. And it's definitely not obvious who the bad guy is here. They get told from Falco that there's a mole in the RDA. RDA being the human military, I believe. After talking to him, Ryder gets sent to his first station on the planet. Arriving there, they help out some humans from the local wildlife, saving someone called Dalton. Ryder plants devices on the surrounding area and eventually goes into his avatar, created by combining Na'vi and human DNA. They get to know Dr. Harper, who's the head of the RDA Avatar program. Ryder does some more odd jobs for Harper and then gets told to follow another Na'vi called Tanjala, who wants peace with the humans. Falco says that by following him, Ryder would learn who the mole is. And surprise, surprise, it's Harper. Ryder, being currently still in their avatar body, confronts Harper. Harper tells Ryder that the devices they put down were devised to show the RDA where to bomb places. Falco joins the encounter and tells Ryder to kill Harper, while Harper tries to convince them to join him and the Na'vi to combat the RDA. Now, this is the stand-up feature I remembered the most from this game. When I started replaying this point in the game was the main reason I thought I liked this game. Having both the people talk to you continuously, Ryder needs to decide whether they want to help Harper or stay with the humans. Ryder's decision affects the route the story will take, splitting into the RDA storyline and the Na'vi storyline. One could say that shooting the Na'vi is the only real answer because the other choice literally sums up to genocide. Nevertheless, I wanted to stay true to my first playthrough and chose the humans. Don't ask me why I chose them as a kid. Following the RDA storyline, Ryder together with Falco shoots relentlessly at Harper, who suddenly pulls out a bow he didn't have before and shoots Ryder's avatar in the heart, destroying it while he falls down a cliff. Now, I don't want to go too much into detail from here on out. The story becomes very stale, repetitive, and telling you all about it would be boring, as well as unnecessary. All you need to know is the humans want to find a special tree, the Well of Souls, that is connected to a central system called Eywa of the planet Pandora. Since the Na'vi are connected to the system, the humans want to use the tree to disconnect them from Eywa. I'm simplifying things here, but in order to do that, Ryder is tasked with collecting unobtainium shards to create harmonics that, when gathered enough of, can locate the dormant Well of Souls. This is the whole game. You go to one place, collect 3 shards of unobtainium, return to Hell's Gate, put the harmonic in the locator, and then repeat. Towards the end, when all harmonics are retrieved, Falco goes rogue and steals the device that is supposed to cut off the Na'vi. Ryder's tasked to find Falco and stop him because he could put in the wrong input? It is said that the improper handling could lead to the destruction of all living on Pandora. So, blah 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 blah. In the end, Ryder arrives at the Well of Souls, encounters Falco, and eventually kills him. Ryder magically knows the correct thing to input and severs the Na'vi from Eywa. Na'vi around them fall from their flying mounts, and Ryder gets a call from Augustine again, telling them that the war is not over and Eywa is planning something. Roll credits. Following the Na'vi storyline, after attacking Falco together with Harper, Falco flees wounded. Harper takes Ryder to the local Na'vi tribe, and Ryder gets to know the different leaders of the Na'vi. Being still in the Avatar body, Harper tells Ryder they need to get their human bodies in their respective chambers to the Na'vi because they could easily be killed in this vulnerable state. After going through with the operation, Harper dies and Ryder goes through a ritual that links their soul with the Avatar body to save him. Kinda reminds me of something, but I'll continue. By the way, Harper gets killed here very weird. It's just mentioned on the sideline that he's dead. After some ramblings, Ryder again gets tasked with collecting unobtainium and create harmonics so they can locate the tree before the humans do. It is the same concept as in the RDA storyline. Task, go to one place, get the harmonic, and repeat. Not much of note happens here. This part of the story focuses on the Na'vi recapturing territory from the RDA. With one exception, the harmonics are collected easily and Ryder prepares for the final showdown at the Well of Souls. Arriving there, riding on the special Great Leonopteryx, a cutscene plays where Falco tries to attack Ryder from a dragon. The Well of Souls activates and acts as an EMP to the dragon, probably killing Falco? ? In the end, Ryder and Tangela talk about how there are more humans coming, and roll credits. Not even a boss fight or anything. Well. After bombarding you with the story, I quickly want to mention some things I liked about the game, before I absolutely ram this game into the ground. So, the positive things about this game? Yeah, it is a game. That is for sure. Obviously, the environment on Pandora is stunningly beautiful. Even with the dated graphics from 2009, the environment looks really good. This is something this franchise does best. The movie's distinct visuals of the planet were a major point in its success. The game follows in its footsteps and shows that the jungle, flying rocks and beautiful trees are the strong point of this franchise. But it is weird, the thing I like the most about this game is the minigame that you can play at the save station of the game. The game being a sort of version of Risk where you try to conquer the moon as the humans or reclaim it as a Na'vi. It is not great, but it was the one thing I looked forward to while playing. Even though it does not make much sense from the Na'vi perspective. Why is the entire planet covered with units from the RDA? I doubt they are that influential that they cover the entirety of the moon. The RDA site makes way more sense by simulating the route of conquer they must go through. I know I said I wanted to talk about something positive and I'm already driving away from that, but in the game you use points you collected from playing the normal game to buy units and use those to advance your territory. Simple, but effective. But why do I have to play the game for the points? I never got anywhere in the minigame because the points I get by playing the game normally were just way too little. I mean, I understand why I have to play the actual game for it, but the game sucks. I don't want to. That being said, I don't want to grind out killing Na'vi to just play the minigame. Since I'm already at the negative points, I guess I'll continue here. A point I already brought to the forefront was the story of the game. While I understand it is just a game for a movie and probably just made to increase sales tickets for the movie, the story lacks in every bit of it. For one, the Na'vi story gets the short end of the stick, being simpler and not even having a real boss fight at the end. For some reason, Ryder's the chosen of the Na'vi and can ride the Great Leonopteryx, but isn't that Jake Sully? Do they suddenly have multiple chosen ones? Is this a different tribe? Why are there 2 people from the movie then? All these problems with the story come from the simple fact that it may be canon. I don't know if Cameron denounced this yet, but this is how the game was marketed, as a prequel. Telling the consumer it is a prequel implies it is canon, unless said otherwise. I've read some discussion about the canonicity of the game, but if you market it as a prequel and not as an alternate universe, it should be canon, especially the endings of the game seem to imply the movie to come. Both end on an open note. Making a prequel story to the movie canon should not result in this many plot holes, especially thinking about which story is supposed to be canon now. Is it Human Rider who severed the connection to Eywa for all Na'vi? Why isn't that mentioned once in the movie, and why can they establish a link to Eywa? Or is the Na'vi Rider canon? Then does there exist another Avatar Na'vi other than Jake Sully in this universe, and why weren't they mentioned? Do the Na'vi just take every human in the skin of their kin as someone chosen to fight for them or to lead them? Like, there are so many things that just don't add up when looking even through the smallest critical lenses. Another thing is the budget character of Grace Augustine, who for some reason accepts Ryder severing the connections to Eywa for the Na'vi, which I'm sure she would not allow in a million years in the movie. One other thing that bothered me while playing through my second playthrough as an Avatar is the unbalanced combat. As an RDA soldier, combat is way easier than for the Avatar route. The guns in the game keep most enemies staggered while dealing a significant amount of damage. The Na'vi weapons on the other hand are substantially weaker. While something like the bow and melee weapons do a lot of damage, the enemies in that playthrough consist of humans with the overpowered guns. The bow competes with the other weapons, but you must be more accurate than with firepower because, as I said, the soldiers retaliate hard. When playing as an RDA soldier, the only annoying thing are the bows because they launch you into the stratosphere. I found myself die a lot more, especially in the beginning as an Avatar, than as a soldier. Thematically, you could make the argument that obviously the firepower from the humans would be more powerful than that of the Na'vi, but gameplay wise, it makes the game far less enjoyable this way. So you either have the choice of a better gameplay experience with the RDA but commit genocide, or a worse gameplay experience but a more humane story. And when I say better gameplay with the RDA, I mean hold left click with the eventual dodge. The overall gameplay is dull. There is no depth that was argued in the advertisement of the game. The boss fight against Falco at the end of the RDA storyline shows this perfectly in my opinion.
I healed him.
Is this supposed to be immersive, fun, thrilling? Because I didn't feel shit in this fight. This game has a few weapons for both factions, but I only saw myself using like 2 of them. There are mech suits and helicopters for the RDA and 1 combat mount and a flying one for the Avatar. Nothing special and certainly nothing interesting. You could say that I'm dumb for expecting good gameplay from a shooter since those usually are just shoot the thing. To that I say, go take a nap and think about your wrong opinions. While the act of shooting is simple and most people understand it, it needs to be used in an engaging way. Just letting you berate enemies with bullets that get staggered to hell is not engaging. Do it like Metroid Prime and make it an essential combat of solving puzzles and engaging enemy varieties. Or even like Call of Duty. I know Call of Duty isn't really something used as a standard for shooter games, but the simple act of enemies dying quick, you being overwhelmed sometimes, and the gunplay being fun makes a huge difference. Or even like Doom, where you just go on a killing spree in the most brutal way possible. This leads me to something I wanted to touch on as well. I started replaying this game because I had fond memories of it. I remembered the game to feel really good to play and the decisions to really impact how I would engage with the game. That being said, I already mentioned how much I dislike the gameplay, but the decisions aren't really great as well. While I think the first part of the story before the first decision is a decent way to introduce the player to the world and the coming story, the decision to side with one of the factions isn't really a decision. If you choose the RDA, you essentially give in to being a monster out for genocide. There are no redeeming qualities about the RDA rider. You murder hundreds of native Na'vi just because the man on top says so, in order to plunder this world of its resources. Siding with a Na'vi is the only real option. I don't want to judge anyone here. All I'm saying is that you either chose the RDA because you want to shooty bang bang with guns, don't give a shit about the story, or indeed think the humans are doing the right thing. Which I hope you don't. I haven't mentioned up to this point that RDA Rider gets another choice close to the end of the game to leave the RDA and continue to fight for the Na'vi. This basically gives the Na'vi ending to Human Rider. This was the choice I took when I played this game in 2009 because I felt so bad about playing the RDA Rider over the course of this game. Continuing from here, I reach a point that heavily impacted me while playing. The morals and display of the violence from both factions. I don't think it's controversial to say that the Na'vi are in the right. The humans taking everything they want with violence is wrong, and that's how it is shown from them. In the Na'vi playthrough, Ryder sees massive steamrollers waltzing through the forest, leaving destruction in its wake. Dead parts of the forest with only humans walking in it, and the sheer brutality of the humans killing hundreds of your comrades. While I would want to compliment the game for depicting the cruelty of the RDA, this gets kind of thrown to the wayside by the other playthrough. When riders join with the RDA, every action they do and the environment they create is depicted far nicer, showing the player that what they are doing is just right and without flaw. There is a turret section in the game where Ryder just maws down multiple big animals just because they are in the way, and this is seen as something good. The environment is depicted as beautiful and hostile, something that must be conquered and is dangerous. All of this could work and mean a lot if it weren't for the game not giving a rat's ass about it. It does not care about the morality of it, even though you get multiple choices in it, making the decisions on the human side gross, over the top, and typical freedom-loving American propaganda bullshit. The story of the whole Avatar franchise seems to be based on the European colonialization of America. One of the biggest colonializations of our world, if not the biggest. And if it isn't based on that, then parallels can be made. Having such a topic should lead into a careful approach of depiction of events. Yet I often question this, looking at the movie as well. Why doesn't both the movie and the game the chosen one of the Na'vi have to be a human? Are we this self-centered that we think only we humans can save foreigners? Do people think we can only sympathize with other humans, not with an oppressed race? It is disgusting, especially if you think about the context with which the RDA tries to reason for the genocide. The humans fucked up and used up their resources from Earth, and now they need to plunder this moon because of its special resources. This gets used as an excuse for these heinous crimes, and one Google search confirms my suspicion. There are disgusting people out there who think the humans are right for murdering an entire race of people, just to survive. Hey, editing crooks here. I just found a video from a channel by looking up any opinions about the matter that I wanted to show in the video. And this video from Generation Films is absolutely garbage. He states in the video a few ways the humans are actually in the right and not the Na'vi of Pandora, but all of these points whittle down to we human, we better society, we over Na'vi, we better. He also uses the argument of the Earth being on the verge of dying, as I mentioned in this video as well. as a point. He also talks about the Na'vi being dangerous and us humans having such a better society than the Na'vi, something that is so incredibly toxic. It's again this human anthropocentric view that only our society is good and everything other races do, or maybe even other aliens out there do that we do not know of today, do it wrong. It's so disgusting to think about that a human actually wrote the script for this. Well, honestly, no, it's not. Only a human can write this amount of crap. It is his opinion. I don't have to agree with it, even though it's a shit opinion. Back to the video, sorry. It is insane just reading through a few answers that aren't even that old. I'll show some on the screen right now, so pause if you want to read them, but holy shit, it's insane. This leads me to the planned sequel to the movie, Avatar: The Way of the Water. Quick side note here. Am I the only one who finds this weird that the humans used the bodies of the Na'vi to communicate with them? This kind of reminds me of the horror movie Get Out. Spoiler warning for the movie. Watch it, it's good. 3, 2, 1. Imagine creating bodies of another race for their mobility and better athletic abilities. It's like in Get Out, where the white people want to use bodies of POCs because they deem them healthier and more athletic. Imagine we used that in the European colonialization of America. That's fucked. Well, just a quick thought. Back to the main points. After 13 years of wait, the second installment of the Avatar franchise will finally see the light of day. Probably. In December 2022, Avatar: The Way of the Water will release in cinemas. Why am I bringing this up in a video about the 2009 game about the first film? It's because of what I saw and experienced while playing this game. First of all, let's talk a bit about the new movie. The movie will continue Jake Sully's view and show him adventure out to seek different tribes. It seems to focus on the water tribes. He got older and apparently 2 children. I say apparently because I honestly don't want to know much before watching it. One of his children seems to be human, which is kind of weird, but okay, let's continue. So, why I bring this up here is the concern I have for this franchise. The game showed me that the story might be unable to mature and tell different stories. What both the first movie and the game taught me about this franchise is that the humans will always come back. This will be a multi-movie story of a war between the humans and the Na'vi. While not being the worst thing, I think that the unwillingness to change will result in the franchise to fall off even more than it has already since the 13-year gap. Recently, there has been a new MMO game revealed called Avatar Rising that will be about something so unique, never seen before in the franchise. Okay, you kinda knew I was just kidding, right? It's defend their home, battle powerful RDA troops seeking to exploit the resources of the moon. And from the trailer, it looks like they put you into avatar bodies just to shoot people. Seems oddly familiar. Worst thing, it's assumingly mobile only. Holy. Another game is also scheduled to release at some point, a AAA title called Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. And you guessed it, it is about the Na'vi fighting the humans. Truly unique, and made by Ubisoft. Oh boy. This just keeps on being the same story over and over and over. I have a bit of higher hopes for the movie than any game they'll release, and from what I saw, it seems to be a technical marvel once again. But does that mean the next coming movies will be good? I don't know. All I can say is that to me it looks bleak. And obviously I know that the movie will make a lot of money. That is not deniable. It has the Cameron name after all. That will not mean that it will be good though. So in conclusion, I want to finish the video by saying that I think the world of Avatar and the moon Pandora is stunningly beautiful, adorned with all kinds of beautiful creatures and native people. When I started replaying the game to see whether my nostalgia will hold up, this was the big factor in my head, and I thought the gameplay and story would hold up in my mind as well. Yet, looking at everything this game shows and stands for, I realize how bad it truly is. This game shows the flaws of the franchise better than I could have thought. The violent colonialization of a planet which is filled with life that does not seem to end in any form. The plot holes created by making a canon game, the unwillingness to change the course of the story, and the ignorance of morality show a degree of carelessness in a very sensitive topic. Maybe I will get taught a lesson once the second movie comes out, but I really think that it's not going to happen. All of this said, if you like this franchise, that is fine. You aren't wrong for liking it. I myself don't completely hate it, yet you should be aware of its flaws. I will definitely watch the second movie, maybe not in cinema, who knows when. But one thing is for sure, when I come around to watch it, I need to see a Ryder reference in it, or this game never existed. Welcome to the end of the video. I don't really know what to say here other than thank you for watching this video. I started this idea for a video at the end of 2020, but pushed the work always further back. I'm so happy I finally was able to do it. If there is anyone still here, I just want to thank you again for sitting through this. It was kinda a passion project of mine, and I really want to look into more games from my childhood. I'm not quite sure what comes next, and I am thinking of streaming the games I want to review in the future. When it comes to other games, my mind is currently at the Metroid Prime trilogy in hopes for number 4, the original Fable, Dragon Quest VIII, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, or maybe even the Kingdom Hearts series. When it comes to Kingdom Hearts, I am not sure if I really should do it since it's my favorite series of all time, and I don't think I could truly judge these games with no interfering nostalgia. If some of you have a favorite, tell me in the comments below and consider subscribing. That's it from me, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas.